Sunset Canyon guide and Lost Canyon guide. Let's go. It's been a while since we've done this, and we've thrown out the guide to better yourself in Sunset Canyon and Lost Canyon. It's a game mode you can play every day. It's the only game mode in Rise of Kingdoms that you can actually play every day. So let's get you set up. If you're an SOC, I'm going to get you set up for Sunset Canyon every day, and then 6 March Lost Canyon. We're going to go through all the best marches. We're going to go through how to set it up. We'll even run through a couple of attacks on some philosophies on how to do that. So stick around while we go through it all right now. Hey everybody, I'm your boy War Daddy Chansky. I do videos for Rise of Kingdoms all the time. If you enjoy these videos, throw a thumbs up on it, give it a like. Helps out the video, helps out the channel. If you're not subscribed, consider doing so. Hit that button and hit that bell if you want to get alerts when I do content like this. It's been a while. People have been asking forever. Chansky, give us a Lost Canyon guide. Now that we've got all these commanders in the game, all the new commanders with all the different things that we have. Alp Arslan's coming to the game. Achilles is coming to the game. Gang. Like, I haven't done this in a while, so let's get this thing cracking, okay? I've tested everything. And, of course, I've won many Sunset Canyon tournaments. I lost in the previous one on an RNG. Oh, my. But I run this stuff every day. It's one of my favorite game modes to play. It's the only game mode that you can play every single day. And whether you're in Home Kingdom and off season, you can play Sunset Canyon every day. And if you're in Lost Canyon or KVK, you can play Lost Canyon every day. Now, Lost Canyon gives you 6 marches, where Sunset Canyon only gives you 5. This is the current setup that I'm running right now. I've got a crazy wedge set on my Huo for cavalry. I know it's a little weird. Not a lot of people have that, but this is how I typically run my canyon, okay? Let's go through real quick how we differentiate some of these commanders, all right? You've got your DPS commanders, you've got your tank commanders, you got your support commanders. Then you've got commanders that can cross and do different things. And so first and foremost, you want tankiness, right? You want to last as long as possible. Well, there's no better tankiness commander in the game than Chen. Chen is the one you got to have, right? He's got so many different ways to mitigate damage. Like, his force skill is just insane, mitigating 40% of damage. It's crazy, okay? In addition to Chen, he also provides a lot of DPS, so you can run him a couple different ways, okay? And then you have commanders like Arthur, DPS, Sun Tzu, DPS. Now, Sun Tzu, remember, as we go through our combinations, he really needs a smite commander behind him because he needs to do the military sage true damage AoE, which ramps up his rage. And if you don't have a smite commander behind him, you don't get that rage going, okay? So I can explain all this stuff to you guys. Luce, still really good with DPS. Of course, if you have Huo and a good cavalry wedge set, he is still one of the best to use in Canyon, but not a lot of people have that. BQ works fantastic with Sun Tzu. Now, people always ask what's better, Sun Tzu with Luce or Sun Tzu with BQ. They do different things. Luce, with his expertise, ramps up the rage faster, and it's especially good in back and forth fighting. It will kind of perform about the same, maybe a little better than BQ in that back and forth type of KVK fighting. But in Sunset Canyon, bro, you want the malice stacks. That's when you stay hooked up and you just start hammering, okay? So the Sun Tzu and BQ, off the charts good, okay? And so from there, Zuge still has a lot to give to Canyon. Really, really good. Of course, Achilles, huge DPS, great for Canyon. And then I've got to go down here to Gang. This guy's a must in Canyon. You got Chen number 1, then you got this guy number 2. Holy jeez. Now, this is from the standpoint that he does good single target damage, but when you put Achilles behind him, or when you run him behind Achilles, the healing is off the charts. It's really good. He can sustain if you keep him out of trouble. If you put him on the front line, he can get killed much quicker, but he is so good. Shajar is another one of those. Chen, Gang, Shajar. Those are like the 3 commanders that will put you over the edge in Canyon. And honestly, not everybody has Shajar, but she is a Canyon god. like a canyon god. Holy. And what she's able to do with her healing, you always want to run her secondary. She's always going to be a part of the tank marches, and that's how you want to do it. You've also got William Wallace. If you imp simps out there run 3 and sometimes 4 marches in canyon, you got to have William Wallace, put him behind Sun Tzu and go. We've got Alp Arslan. Now, I've run Alp like crazy in canyon, okay? I've tested him out. Not good for the tank. You do not want to run this guy with Shajar, okay? I've tried it. Does not last. Does not last near as long as a Trajan Shajar or a Qin Shajar or a Philip Shajar. That is not what you use this guy for. But he's pretty good, especially you guys running 2 archer marches. He's pretty good as a second archer commander for DPS. You can match him up with Herman, lay down a bunch of stacks. You can match him up with Zuge if you're running Chen YSG. You can do a lot of different things with Alp, and he provides, honestly, just like the field. He's like a good second march commander for archers in Canyon as well. And so, but I do not recommend to put him with Shajar. Okay, Shajar can carry pretty good with a lot of the tank commanders, but she can't carry Alp. Alp is just not going to be able to do it. He doesn't mitigate enough damage. He doesn't fire off like Philip does, and he doesn't provide the tankiness that Trajan does. So that is my recommendation. Do not run Alp with Shajar. Okay, you won't do near as well if you just run Alp with some of the DPS. So Alp is a DPS commander in Canyon. That's how I've labeled him, and that's what it's going to be. So you have all these different types of commanders. How do you want to run them? Well, I've got a bunch of different scenarios with how to run this, okay? And like I said, guys, I've run them all. I've done it like crazy. And so with that, I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to go through scenario 1. Now we're going to talk Sunset Canyon first. I'm going to talk about scenario number 1 and what you want to do. We're going to talk about a 2-tank lineup. Okay, very balanced, very easy, very, very common to run a 2-tank lineup. You go Trajan Constantine, you go Philip Shajar, and then you hammer the 3 biggest DPS marches you can. And those are the 3 biggest DPS marches you can. Very balanced. You got an infantry, you got an archer, you got a cav. Okay, we'll actually label this DPS because I think I got it labeled DPS and all the other ones. So those are the 3 you want to run to do all the damage, okay? If you don't have like all these commanders, if you don't have like a Shajar, it's really hard to run 2 different tanks. You got to go more like a support situation. But if you do have Shajar, there are other ways to do this where you could run Trajan with Shajar as a tank. And if you don't have Philip, then you can change some things up and you can run like a Luce with Constantine. I've got that here somewhere, don't I? I thought I did. Hold on 1 second. There he is. Okay, you could run like a Luce with Constantine. That allows you to keep Sun Tzu with BQ, and you can still run your 3 DPS commanders with that setup of 2 tanks. So there's a couple different ways you can do that, but if you're gonna run 2 tanks, you really need Constantine and Shajar, all right? The other way I like to do this is in the way I typically run it. I run 2 tanks with Qin Shajar. Love Qin Shajar. Absolutely love it. Like the tankiest march out there outside of like a Philip Shajar, it just does more damage. A Qin Shajar, fantastic. 2 tanks, Qin Shajar, then I run my Trajan and my Constantine. The reason why I do this, boys, is because I have this crazy, insane gear over here on my Trajan, all right? And I love running Trajan Constantine because from that stand, I mean, it's all tier 5 stuff for infantry. Like, what the hell was I doing, Chadsky? Golly. I went down a dark path, and I'm trying to pry myself away from the Sith, from the dark path that I went down a few years ago, but I still have it for Canyon, so why not use it? So this is what I use, and this is what I love. Now, you're going to see on here that Gang Achilles and Sun Tzu BQ, if you're going to use Qin Shajar, you got to run these 2, obviously, for your high DPS, right? That's what we want to run. However, Your third DPS can be multiple things, all right? If you're in that situation, you can bring in Alp, you can run them with, I've got all three here, run them with Herman, run them with YSG, run them with Zuge, okay? You can even run like a Zuge with Herman. You can still even do that if you don't have Alp. And then you've got like an Arthur with Hector that you can run. If you guys still have some Cav Wedge stuff, you can run a Huo with Arthur. That's if you're running 2 Cavs as DPS, okay? If you want to run 2 infantry as DPS, you can obviously run the Sun Tzu with Wallace, and then you can go with a BQ Luce. So there's multiple different ways to run the Qin Shijar tank. Okay, you can run that a bunch of different ways. So that gives you an idea with Qin Shijar and how you do it. Also, in addition to that, where is my... No, I've got Arthur Hector here, okay? And something I should go back to on the balance here, okay? This is pretty common, but once you start adding multiple other troop types, like if you say Chadsky, I have to run 2 Cavs and 2 different things like that. We're going to give you those options for Arthur and Hector. So there's your 2 tank with a Qin Shijar. All right. The next one we will go to is a 2 tank with infantry on Constantine. This is where you run your Trajan with Shijar. Super tanky, and then you can run your Luce with Constantine, and then that frees up your BQ to be behind Sun Tzu. A lot of people like running BQ with Constantine, and then from there you put Sun Tzu with Luce. I just think it works better the other way around, okay? And so from there, I know that BQ might provide just a smidge more tankiness than Sun Tzu, but overall, your DPS, you really want BQ behind Sun Tzu, okay? Do not run Sun Tzu with Constantine. He's not nearly, I mean, it works fine, but he's just not nearly as effective, okay? You don't want to do that. You don't want to run Sun Tzu with Constantine because Sun Tzu is doing damage, y'all, and you want him as a DPS. You want him doing a smite damage commander as a secondary, so he ramps up more AoE true damage, which ramps up more of his rage, okay? Rage is king. We've been talking about it lately. I got my over-raging Mythbuster video from yesterday talking about rage. Rage is king. And then Gang Gang Achilles. Some people like Achilles and Gang Gang. Also with this, it's the same thing. Some people like Achilles Gang Gang. You can run that as well. I always like Gang Gang Achilles because I like the healing from Gang Gang when Achilles does a whole bunch of combo damage. But if you run a Luce Constantine and you bring Shijar behind Trajan, then your Qin with Zuge is going to be the best other march that you can run. So those are 2 different ways to run that on a 2 tank with an infantry for Constantine, where he's not behind Shijar, or I'm sorry, he's not behind Trajan or Philip or anything like that. Okay, let's go on to our next scenario. Okay, 1 support, 1 tank. This is very, very common. A lot of people like this. They still run Trajan with Mulan. And then they bring in running Shijar with Philip. Now, you can run this a couple of different ways, okay? If you have that, then you run the typical 3 DPS. But if you do not have a Philip, or you would rather run a Qin Shijar as your tank, all right, then it changes some things up. You can run Sun Tzu with BQ, you can run Gang Gang with Achilles, then you can bring in your Arthur with Hector, or you can bring in your Huo with Arthur, or you can bring in your Alp for you 2 archer players. So there's multiple ways that you can do that, all right? And in a weird situation, if you want to run like a Sun Tzu with Wallace, if you have this weird setup with Trajan and Mulan and you want to run Qin with Shijar, but I have 2 other infantry, then you can run it just like that, right? And so that kind of gives you an idea with 1 support and 1 tank when it comes to Sunset Canyon. Okay, this is still 5 March Sunset Canyon. The last thing is the 1 tank options. Okay. These are pretty interesting because you're going 4 DPS with 1 tank. Now, the best way to run those tanks is Trajan Shijar or Philip Shijar, or you can run Qin Shijar, but you're going to really need a bunch of DPS from your other marches. So if you run Trajan Shijar, you don't have Philip, there you go. Run your DPS marches. I like running the Huo with Arthur, but you can run Arthur Hector in this situation. This is a 2 Cav setup with 1 tank, all right? And then we do a 2 infantry setup with 1 tank, with having 2 infantry, 1 Cav, 1 archer. And then we do a 2 archer setup with 1 tank, right? Where you do a Sun Tzu BQ, you do a Gang Achilles, then Chin with Zuge, and then you can run Alp with Herman or Alp with YSG, however you want to run that, okay? And then I guess if we have something like really crazy, all right, where you're gonna run a tank of Chin Shajar, then you take this off. Hold on, we'll just, you take this off, and you're probably gonna end up running, I think, Alp with Zuge. So I'll just put the 3 March thing here. And then from there, you can go back and run 2 calves with that, with your tank being Chin. Or you can do it like with your 2 infantry setup, and that's how you can do it. So there's multiple ways to run the single tank option for Sunset Canyon, okay? Now, when you get into KVK, you also have Lost Canyon. I love playing Lost Canyon. You get an idea with Lost Canyon, and I don't have it set up right now because I'm not in KVK, but I love Lost Canyon. Number one, I want to know who's got the best marches, who's got the best setup, the best gear, the best armaments from other kingdoms. That's what I always want to see. So you'll see a Lost Canyon over here or somewhere on this menu here, and you can go hit that. Plus, it gives good rewards, honestly, for the currency that you can get. And I'll be just real with everybody. It is one of those, you know what, measuring contests between the Krakens. That's why I'm always in the top 5 of that stuff. I go head to head with the biggest ones you can find. Everybody from Makote to Wild Hope or Wild Lion and Mr. Hope to Al Haytham to all the big accounts in the game. I've gone toe to toe with them. I've cracked their skulls. They've cracked mine, and we've had a blast with that. So if you're going to go with a 6 March lineup, okay, this is how I always recommend people to do it. You got to do really a 2 tank lineup. You can maybe do something a little bit different, but this is the most common. A Trajan with Constantine, and then a Philip with Shajar. Philip Shajar dominates Lost Canyon. It is so tanky, and it is so good, okay, if you have any kind of Echelon stuff. Now, let me show you what I've got, and I'll have a video, honestly, tomorrow that talks about Echelon, because there's some things with Echelon that are freaking buck wild, y'all. They are just absolutely buck wild. But here's what I run on my Trajan. I mean, like, what? Like, Chansky, you got specials for Echelon? I've even got this guy that I can convert over, but Nullify and Vengeful is good, and I also have Nullify and Fit. But when I run that, I also have my Echelon over here for archers, because I love to run Philip with Shajar. Now, I can run the double here, or I can switch over let me see here. I can switch over I think I've got a special over here, which is what I'll probably do. Yeah, I got a balance with a whole bunch of archer stats. I just need to switch that over to Echelon and put that behind my boy Philip, and then just go run that situation with 2 Echelons. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm just showing you guys, if I got to lay down credentials on running this thing, and I got to lay down credentials on the fact that I run it at the highest level, I just have all kinds of crazy stuff to do it with. I don't expect everybody to have that stuff, but some rares would help in this. And Civilized is broken, y'all. It is so broken. It is so freaking broken. You can make this thing fire off constantly. I'm going to have a video tomorrow to talk about it. It's crazy, and especially good for Sunset Canyon and Lost Canyon. So with that, when we come back to this, let's look at it. This is our Lost Canyon 2 tank setup. Trajan Constantine, Philip Shajar, okay, then 4 DPSs. Now, this is a 2 cavalry setup, okay, and if you don't have that, you can obviously run the Arthur with Hector if you don't have a Huo Cav Wedge stuff, but this is what I think is the absolute best. You could run 2 infantry if you wanted to do that and take away this guy here and run it like that, okay? If you wanted to run 2 infantry with that, or if you wanted to run 2 archers, you can take that down, put that there, and then have your Chin Zuge, and then you can run your Alp with YSG or Herman, however you want to do that. The beauty with Alp is that now it gives us 2 really, really good DPS setups. Now, there's other ways that we can do this, and stuff that I like running here. I sometimes will not run Philip, which is stupid, honestly, and then I'll run my setup like this, or I will, and then I'll basically take that off, and then I'll run like a, let's see here, I'll end up running like a Huo with Arthur. Okay, and then what else do I do here? I think I do some other things when I run my Chen with Shajar, Huo with Arthur, and then maybe do I run Sun Tzu with Wallace and then BQ? I just run 2 infantry, 2 infantry, 2 calves. I think for next KVK, I'll end up running it like this. That's probably what I'll end up doing. I'll bring in my boy here, Alp Arslan, and run that with 2 archers, but one of them is going to be a tank. So multiple different ways that you can run that, and it all works out really, really well. So this is how I like to run it, and we're going to get into a big KVK, and we're going to go fisticuffs with all these big players, and we're going to find out who's got the best stuff. And with 32 special inscriptions, I got a ton of stuff. Okay, Lost Canyon number 2. Okay, now this is really common. This is a 2 tank, 1 support. I actually enjoy running this a little bit when it comes to bringing in Luce with Constantine. The Philip Shajar super tank, Luce with Constantine, really good tank, and then a Trajan Mulan, and then you go with your 3 DPS, right? But if you bring in Chen with Shajar and you don't have a Philip, then you've basically got to bring in that Alp Arslan second march. Okay, so you can do that a couple of different ways, but the Trajan Mulan, as long as you're not getting completely destroyed by the opposite lane of the enemy, and they don't put 2 big DPS commanders on your Trajan with Mulan, as long as that can last, this thing will support your marches like crazy, and it's tanky enough. Okay, if you're attacking, you kind of want to put this opposite of another tank march so it just doesn't get melted, because the longer it stays in combat, the more rage it does, the more buffing it does from Mulan, the more skill damage buffing it does from Trajan. It's really, really good and really, really potent. Okay, so those are the different types of setups. Okay, you've got your 2 tank balance setup that we talked about. You got your 2 tank Chen Shajar setup that we talked about. You've got your 2 tank infantry Constantine, keeping Constantine with infantry set up. You've got a 1 tank and 1 support. Those are all for Sunset Canyon. And then your 1 tank option for Sunset Canyon. Then you've got your Lost Canyon setup. The 2 best ways to run this, just like that. 2 tanks, 1 support, or 2 tanks. Okay, now if you're going to do 1 tank and 1 support, there's other ways that you can do that, but you guys get an idea of the DPS options that really, really work. Okay, now let's go talk about how to set up your attack, okay, in Sunset Canyon. That's what I've got now. For my attack, let me see here. I got a few more. Now, I've got some pretty good ones. Peace is really, really good. That's not Mama Peace. That is Asian Peace that's in 606 with us. She's always had a really, really tough canyon. But you can see here, I run my Shajar with Chen. I run my Trajan with Constantine. And, of course, I've got that infantry stuff for my gear. And then Gang Gang and Achilles, I like to wrap that down so I get a lot of AoE value for Achilles. And then I keep Sun Tzu out of trouble. The longer Sun Tzu can stay out of trouble, guys, the more freaking damage he does. Okay, now I can run this head to head because honestly, I've got the edge and the strength of my marches. Right, you can see the number up here at the top is a clear indicator of how much tier 3 and tier 4 gear you have and tier 5 gear you have. That's an awakening indicator. Okay, I can run a few more troops than Peace can. All right, now Sun Tzu, 125,000. That's because she's got the KVK stuff that gives a little bit more troop cap. I've got 124,000. Okay. The same thing with Chen. I got 124,000. She lacks a little bit when it comes to that in her tiers and awakening at 123,000. My Gang Gang, 124,000. His gang or her Gang Gang is at 123,000. But then look at my Huo, 125,000 maxed out because you guys know I'm a Cav simp. In addition to that, I've also got a Trajan with Constantine, 135,000, almost 136,000. Now, she's got me beat here because she has the accessory tier 5 where I do not. Let me show you here. So that's a clear indicator of where you're at. Like those of us that are such nerds in the game, we know. There you go. There's my crit horn for leadership that is not tier 5. Okay, so my opponent does have a tier 5. Or a tier 3 at least, to have more troops. And so that's how that thing works, okay? So let's come back into this. But I can go head to head with her. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to do this, all right? Like running Chin in my top lane as a tank, and I like it being slower than BQ because I want to make sure I'm pulling this around with Gang Gang and doing a bunch of damage, and I want to make sure that the opposite marches on the top are in the AoE of my Sun Tzu, because his AoE true damage will go forever. It's massive, okay? And watch him just stay out of trouble, and he's just doing gobs of damage. Gobs of damage. All right, I've already got her Trajan killed. I'm on to his Chin. I've got her Sun Tzu killed. I'm on to his Gang Gang. Now, her Gang Gang is going to do some damage to me, and it's probably going to kill my Chin. But I've already got her Chin completely knocked out. My Huo did enough damage to her BQ, okay? The BQ Constantine outlasted my Huo a little bit, but now I can turn my focus down on that and get a win. Now, that's if you want to go head to head, if you're in a situation to where you are maybe a stronger opponent. You just got more troops, you got a better setup. If you don't have a strong opponent, I always like doing the 1-2-2 setup. This is what I call this. I'm going to pull this back and I'm going to let this tank, right? Now it's going to get beat up pretty good because Sun Tzu and Gang Gang will do a ton of damage. But from there, I'll put my Huo here to go head to head against BQ, and then I'll switch it up and put an AoE Sun Tzu that's going to get AoE value and hit the Trajan, and then Gang Gang's going to swing down and give me AoE value to hit the BQ. This is what I call a 1-2-2 setup. Okay, I'm basically trading this tank for his tank, but I'm setting up my marches to where hopefully Sun Tzu stays out of trouble and his AoE clips the Trajan, okay? And then I'm swinging my Gang Gang down to where the Achilles AoE is going to clip the BQ. Let's see how that works out. All right, like running this, it's a different variation of how to set up kind of a weird head-to-head, but I'm just going to go, he's got his BQ slow enough so my Sun Tzu doesn't swing all the way down, so my Sun Tzu is going to get hit by the BQ AoE. But I got to pound this thing as much as possible. And there's no better two marches to pound single target than a Huo with Arthur and Wedge, and then a Sun Tzu with BQ. It cooks. And you can see my Sun Tzu it's probably hitting this Chin up here. So my Sun Tzu is gotten rage like crazy. My Chin up here with Shajar, still alive, baby, while I'm just pounding away on all of his other marches. That thing is such a tank march. Now I'm going to get a healthy Gang Gang I got to deal with, but my Trajan with Constantine is still got enough health to where it's going to tank a while, and it's probably going to end up surviving because I'm still putting enough DPS down on this Gang Gang. Does it survive? Oh, I don't know if it survives. Does it survive? Hey, yo, my Trajan survives. Let's go. Okay. From there, the other way to attack somebody, and Peace, I'm so sorry I'm hitting you so many times. Again, this is not Mama Peace. I wouldn't do that to her. But this is the Asian Peace in our kingdom that is really, really good. I don't have to hit her for this. I can show you guys something a little bit different. We'll go hit Cactus here. Cactus is a really good player. And so if you don't want to do a 1-2-2 setup, or you're not strong enough to do a straight up, head up setup, then you can go a 1v4. Okay. It brings in more RNG and more chances. But what you want to do with that is you want to put a high damage march you're going to basically sacrifice, and you're going to put that in a situation to where they run the off lane against 4 of their marches, and then you run the off lane against 1 of his marches with your setup. Now I'm going to put the 2 tanks right here, so they got to punch through both of my tanks. I'm going to take the siege out of Chin so he's faster and can catch up. All right, so let's see how this runs against Cactus. Now, this is a way to run it if you're not quite as strong to win in a head-up situation, or their configuration makes it very hard and difficult to win a head-up situation. You do a 1v3. So I'm just looking for my Huo up here to do as much damage to this BQ as possible, okay, and last as long as possible. Now, you see, you got some RNG here. Everybody resets, all right? Sometimes you can get your active skills to bridge, okay? But this is how you set this thing up. I have my 2 tanks still rolling. I've got Chin after Trajan, so my 2 tanks still rolling, and I'm doing gobs of damage. You see his BQ. His BQ's almost dead, and that's because I put that Huo on it, okay? Now, they still haven't killed my Trajan. They haven't even gotten to my Chin. My Chin's got Chajar behind it, and if they can't kill my Trajan, they're definitely not going to kill my Chin. So that's a 1v4 setup, an off-lane setup that brings in more RNG. So with that, hopefully it gives you guys much more analysis on this. A lot of people, you don't have the marches that we talked about here. Some of you don't have a lot of these marches. So just get in my Discord. My Discord link is down in the description. You can ask in the Ask Anything channel, like, hey, here's my Canyon setup. I love helping my 300 members when I go through their account reviews to help them out with the different setups that they have. Canyon is just so much fun to play. Encourage everybody to play it. And if you got something out of this video, entertainment, or helps your account, throw a like on here. And if you're not subscribed, consider doing so. You can subscribe anytime. Join my Discord. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And with that, y'all have a great day, broskies.